So I think we're done with user info. So user info also has avatar. It has sign out button. We could always make another component for display name if we wanted to, but I don't think it's necessary. You could do it in your own time. So user info is looking good. So back in sidebar, how about RoomList? RoomList seems like it ought to be another component. It's similar to message list. Eventually, it's going to probably be looping over an array of rooms. Let's go ahead and make a new component out of this. So make a new component called capital R room, capital L list.js. Let's do our familiar steps. Import React from React. Const capital R room, capital L list equals an arrow function. That arrow function will return some JSX. And at the end, I will export default room list. So what JSX should it return? I'll just cut this nav element with a class of room list out of sidebar, put it inside room list. Once again, I have a little bit of style being applied here. I think it's just that margin. But let's see what we had over in static. Room list. Yep, there was a room list.css with quite a bit in it. None of this applies to the list itself, looks like. It's all the H2 or the UL or something else inside of it. So for the list itself, I think all we need is this children rule, padding 0, 1 rim. So in room list, I'll make a style object again, const style equals, or styles equals an object. I'll put a property in there called room list. And that will just have padding, colon, 0, 1 rim. And I'll change styles.children here to styles.roomlist. And then, you know what? Back in sidebar, we don't need that rule anymore. So children padding 0, 1 rim, that's no longer being applied to anything. Because all of the children have been extracted into other components now. So let's go ahead and import it before we finish. Import room list from /room list. And then that went after the H1 right here. Room list. There we are. I'm not quite done here. I said import React from capital R React. That's not it. It's the string lowercase React. There we go. Now it looks like it did. We're not done here. There's a lot of other CSS there. Let's peruse it real quick. Okay, I see a pseudo element and a pseudo class. So I'm going to have to use Aphrodite. What was that other one? That was a sign out button, right? I'll just copy and paste that import statement. So I'll import Aphrodite into room list. I'll wrap my styles in stylesheet.create. And then instead of using a style prop, this goes inside class name. So I could just change class name from being a string to just being CSS parentheses styles.roomlist. Or if I still really wanted that room list's class name to be on there, I could do something like this. How about I wrap this in a template literal, put my $ brackets around there. Then I could say capital R room list space, and then the result of calling that CSS function. Does that make sense? Why you can do this? Multiple class names, just separate them by a space. So one of these class names is just a string, RoomList. The other one is a function call, but we know that the way that CSS helper function works is it just returns an auto-generated class name. So I could do this if I wanted to. Does it still work? Have I broken it yet? Oh, come on, keyboard shortcut. Yeah, still looks fine. I think it worked. All right, cool. So let's get the rest of these styles in there. Okay, it's kind of a lot. It's all right. So huge cheat. I'm just going to copy and paste this whole thing because, again, there's just not much point. You've seen me switch between CSS and JavaScript now several times. You get the idea. You have to quote any string values. You use commas instead of semicolons, and you have to camel case the property names instead of putting dashes in between multiple words. So here's that entire styles object. Even the hover trick's just like last time. In fact, it's even the same rule, color white. What was that? Button and room list? What's that even supposed to be? What is that supposed to be? There's no button in here, is there? Why do I have that? Oh, I see. That's a button we haven't added yet. So spoiler alert there. So we just need to apply all these rules. So here's the H2 rule. Font size 1 rem. Here's the H2. So I just throw not style but class name on there. Set it equal to, I'll call that CSS helper function that we import from Aphrodite. And I just pass it styles.h2, my style object. And that will automatically, that CSS function will automatically return the auto-generated class name that Aphrodite adds as a real class when we do stylesheet.create. Okay, the list itself, we use list style none so that there are no more bullets. There's bullets on this list right now. Then we get rid of the margin left and padding left. So that goes on the UL. So class name equals CSS parentheses styles dot list. And I screwed that up. I didn't put my closing parentheses. Or I put my, there we go. My parentheses, my curly braces, I got goofed up. There we go. The bullets are gone. Then heading had its own style. So what is that referring to? I honestly don't remember. Where I have the new, oh, I see. So what I do eventually is I put this H2 inside another div because we're going to add a button. So let's do that later. What else? Okay, the rest of that's all later. So that's all we're doing here for now. No. Link. Don't I have one for link? Let's see. How about this button class? That might look good. What if I apply that button class to each of these links? So inside these LIs that I have for each room, I have a link. One of these days, I can tell I'm going to do this with map over an array of the rooms, right? But not yet. So for right now, what if I style each of these links with class name CSS styles.button. Let's do the same thing on the second one. That's a little better. Sure. So that all looks slightly better. I think it'll do for now. So here is the room list component. Which we've imported into sidebar. So now sidebar is pretty short. We've got the sidebar itself, and then inside there we've just got user info, an H1, and a room list. I like that. Because that's what's in the sidebar, right? Just user info, and then an H1, and then a room list. And what exactly user info and room list consists of? Well, we have a whole other component to deal with that. And user info is even broken up into a bunch of other components. Cool. Add room list component. Questions about any of the new stuff we did there? I think I just copied and pasted the whole thing, didn't I? Yeah.